Hi, and welcome to our Aim for Good video series. We designed Aim for Good with the hope that we could connect individuals in this community and provide different resources to shine light on local nonprofits, people that might be in need, any different resources that we could provide out there for you.
This video series is intended to provide relevant information from industry leaders and also connect and highlight our colleagues, our friends, our clients to nonprofits in need.
Please stay tuned at the end of the video as you'll see different links that we discussed during the conversation so that you'll be able to contact them directly and help anyone in need. And also, make sure to subscribe to our channel as we'll be updating these videos on a regular basis. Thanks again for joining us. All right, hello, welcome to another one of our videos for Aim for Good. We appreciate you stopping by. We are with Patrick Ellis today. He is the president and CEO of the Murrieta Wildomar Chamber of Commerce. Good guy, great leader, good friend. A lot of good things going on up in Murrieta and a lot of it in the business community because of Patrick. So we appreciate your time being here today.
Thanks,
we really like your cool background. Both of ours are put to shame. So we're going to have to work on that, Adam, because that one's way too cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's like Where's Waldo? If you look closely, there's some fun things behind him, but we don't highlight those right now. But,
I'm not going to say them. I just let people figure them out as they go.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for being here. First, we just wanted to tap your expertise. There's a lot of questions out there in the business community, about PPP, all different programs that have been coming down the pipe, a lot of confusion. I know you've been very active in that space. So if there's any pearls of wisdom you can share for local businesses that may be watching this, that would be great as a starting point.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Mark and Adam. I appreciate it. We've been trying to do a lot of informational videos, post a lot of stuff on our social media and our website, and get the most accurate information out there. On the Chamber website, if anyone goes to it, on the very front homepage, there's a red button that says COVID-19. If you click on that, it takes you to our resource page. It has all of the most up-to-date information, whether it's coming from our federal government, state, or county, as well as resources such as SBA and SBDC and the different programs that are out there. The programs that you'd mentioned, the PPP program, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, and then the EIDL program, which is the Emergency Injury Disaster Loan programs. Both of those are the things that have been in the news the most as of late. We've been trying to get as much information out about that. Obviously, there's been a lot lately about how the money ran out and how a lot of the larger businesses got a big chunk of that money. For those who don't know, there was a reauthorization bill proposed by the Senate, passed yesterday by the Senate. Hopefully we pass by the House tomorrow. Part of what we're seeing in that is there are now some caveats as to getting money to some of the smaller banks, community banks, some of the disenfranchised areas, to make sure money's getting into the hands of some of these smaller businesses. So we're really happy to see that. Also, Secretary Mnuchin has been pushing for some of those larger businesses that did receive those funds to give those funds back so that those can go back to some of those smaller businesses that really truly need it. So we're glad to see that. So those who did get the PPP in the last couple of weeks who got in, the way they did that was we learned quickly that those who had current relationships with their financial institutions, so if they had existing loans, lines of credits, things of those sorts, those were the people that ended up getting into the front of the line. And I think there's two ways to look at that. One is because they already had a relationship with their bank. And I've been encouraging people as of late, the last few weeks, is if you don't have a relationship with your business bank, you should. If you don't have a person inside of your business bank, if you don't have somebody's cell phone, then you should, because this is obviously, a very extreme example of it, but all businesses run into different emergencies at different times. And so you need to have that relationship. It's very critical. So having that relationship, building it from here on out is very critical. the other part of it from the bank standpoint, I mean, they're a business as well. If they have clients who already have existing loans out there, they need to protect that business because it's their, it's their loan that's on the line as well. So from a strict business standpoint, you can't blame the banks for doing that. But then you get into that point of, who should get the money. That's becoming more of a light. And it was a difficult thing because you needed to get a program out on the street as quick as possible to help as many people as possible. And so you knew there were going to be issues down the road. And now they're all coming to light a bit. And they're doing their best to kind of manage through those. But it is a program that I encourage everyone to take advantage of if they can, get their applications in. Even though the money may have run out last week, still get your application in because now there's going to be more money coming. You don't want to get, be at the very, very tail end of the line and miss out completely. The other program, which is the EIDL loan, that's a loan program so the PPP program, it's payroll, 2.5 months worth of payroll is what your qualification is. It's a 2-year loan at 1%, very low interest. It can be forgiven if you utilize 75% of that for payroll. The rest of it can be used for a few other ancillary things. It's a great program. It's a tricky one. You need to make sure that you set yourself up for success with that program by making sure you put that money in a separate account. Make sure you account for that money effectively so that you can get as much of that waived as possible. Fantastic program. And even if you don't have the ability to get it waived, it's still a good loan. 1% is basically free money. You just have 2 years to pay it off. So if you need it to get you through a few months and your cash flow is going to be there in about 4, 5, 6 months, then it's still a good loan, even as just a simple bridge loan. The EIDL loan is a great loan because it's a 30-year loan at 3.75%. Again, as close to free money as you can get in today's day and age. And as a 30-year loan, that's a phenomenal loan. So for those who can qualify and get that, although that one, the qualifications are still very, very minimal. They're not really checking your credit scores. It's not tied to collateral. So it's a much easier opportunity to get that loan. And there was, and I'm still looking for the details on it now, if with the reauthorization money, you were able to ask for an emergency advancement of that loan up to $10,000, which would be $1,000 per employee that you had. I believe that's still going to be part of the reauthorization money, and we'll see how that works. And if you get that money, regardless if you get the loan or not, that is considered a grant once it's issued to you. They're way behind on those. We at the Chamber had applied for the EIDL loan. We still have not heard anything, and that's almost 3 weeks ago now. That was the only thing that we organizationally were able to take advantage of. Chambers were not included. 501c6s and C4s were completely excluded from the original CARES Act as well as the reauthorization. So we don't get any of that, which a lot of people still don't realize. But it's not just us. I mean, if you think about 501c6s and C4s, a lot of our destination marketing companies, Visit Temecula Valley, Explore Murrieta, those entities are typically 501c6s. They don't get to take advantage of that PPP program either. So there's a lot of work being done to try and get us included in the next phase that'll be being discussed in DC very soon, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But there's a lot of information on our website about that. We encourage everyone too is that the SBDC and the SBA are doing a daily call at 3 o'clock. It's a live call. That information is on our website and our social media. And if you go onto the SBDC website or the SBA website, you can find that too. It's very informational. It's relative and up to date. So every day there's something new that they're sharing on that call because everything changes every single day right now. But I encourage people to go on that call if they have questions, because they'll take your questions on that call. They'll also, if you're doing it via Zoom like this, if you put that question in the chat or whatever, they'll address it or they'll get back to you after the fact too. So there is a lot of good information out there about those programs. There's also information, and I'm not as versed, but for those who have the opportunity, check with your accountants and such. But there are opportunities for payroll credits too through some of the CARES Act too, that some businesses, it might work out better. And I did a Zoom interview with Nicole Albrecht from Financial Accounting Services where we talked a little bit about that. And they kind of showed a difference of how a business, if they went and did a PPP loan or if they took the credits for their payroll, and how that might work better for their business. But each business is different. And so I always encourage people to check with their, bookkeeper or accountant and see which one of the avenues that they have available to them might work best for them.
Yeah, that's a lot of great information, and we'll definitely provide links to the website and do some follow up on that. I actually received an email from your organization today about work comp and some things going on in that world. Yeah. So you're definitely on top of things as far as keeping the communication channels open. So we as a business as well appreciate that too. So Adam, do you have a question?
Yeah, I think that's a ton of good information. What are you? And there's some good silver lining with the programs that are coming through from the government. What are you concerned about long term?
That's a great question, and that's what's been kind of keeping me worried more than anything, is because as good as these programs are, like the PPP program, it's still a Band-Aid. It really is it's a 2 to 3 month Band-Aid, and what I keep saying is in about 2 to 3 months. That Band-Aid's going to get ripped off, and it's going to hurt really, really bad. And a lot of small businesses are then going to be in that same boat again going, okay, now what do I do? Because reopening of business looks different in, every part of this country. California, we have, and Riverside County, we have a little idea that, probably looking at mid-May with some reopenings, but from every indication, it's going to be very slow. So it's going to be, no more than 10 people at any given point. You still have social distancing. What we're working on right now is some sort of a toolkit that we can help to put together that helps businesses understand what are your expectations now that you can open. What kind of social distancing do you have to provide? What type of safety measures do you have to have in place? How do you have to communicate that with your customers? Do you have to supply, what do you supply for all of your employees? What are the expectations there? What kind of masks or gloves or protective coverings are needed? There's so many question marks regarding that. And right now businesses want to get open so that they can get their cash flow going again. But now you're talking about added, whether they're mandated or recommended, they're still going to be needed to put those businesses and your employees in a safe environment that encourages people to come out and spend some money with you. So that's the part that I'm really concerned about, that I think in the next few months is going to be another really hard hurdle to get over. And there's no talk of funding for any of those kinds of things or what have you. And so those are going to be the secondary steps that are going to be really difficult for small businesses.
Yeah, so many wild cards for sure. It's just plan A, plan B, plan C, plan F, From that standpoint, us as local residents, what would you say to us to kind of find ways to help local businesses, whether it's in the restaurant? Obviously retail is a different animal at this point, mostly online, but what are you seeing in your area that we can do to help support local businesses?
Obviously any of the local small businesses that are open. So, obviously we talk a lot and there's a lot of stuff online about, local restaurants. How do we support those? And we encourage that. And we've got lists on our website too of all the different ones and their hours and what they have available. But, obviously we try and encourage those to be able to go and support those as they can. And some people sometimes forget that even though something might have a chain name to it, it's still locally owned. I've said a couple times on a couple different programs, you've got, Which Sandwiches is right here in Murrieta, but it's owned by Sandy Ward. And, she's a local resident and she just pours her blood, sweat, and tears into that place. And, same with the Denny's that's here in Murrieta and Wildomar. It's owned by, Tanya. That's local people that are doing local, things for local groups and stuff. And I always kind of think about it too, from the standpoint of, when you think about it from the nonprofit standpoint, right? Nonprofits for the last 10 years, and we're one of those. The Chamber is one that's gone out and asked for donations and gift cards and all these different things for the last 10 years or so to all these different businesses. So I think it's time that we all kind of return that favor, because they need us now more than anything. Yeah. And so we've got to try and support those that supported us in the past as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I know some people are still trying to. Oops. Sorry, are we still there?
Yeah.
What the heck? That was the first time that ever happened. Okay, well, welcome to At Home Video.
That's right.
Hey, what I was going to say is, a lot of us are still wondering, what's safe, should we get the food, different things, where is that line, which there's no definitive answer, in that scenario. I think one thing I've seen that's been really neat is folks going out and just buying a ton of gift cards from these local restaurants just to get cash flow, and then they can use it at a later date. I mean, why not buy Christmas presents now, to help these?
That's a great point, yeah.
Anything we can do. And, even in the same vein of you mentioning nonprofits, I know that world from asking everybody over the years. I totally agree with giving back the nonprofits too. At this time, we actually need to kind of circle back with the food banks and everything else and make sure that they're going to survive through this too. So
yeah, and that's a good point, because the nonprofits, although the nonprofits got included in the PPP and the EIDL, and so they have that opportunity, and I think a lot of them still don't realize it. But they're struggling too. And it's, and you think about it, like the food pantry is a good example. The food pantry in Murrieta, right before this, kind of all the shutdown and everything, they were feeding at that time, roughly about 500 families a week. That based on how many people are going to be out of work and out of business and everything over the next few months and year or so, that's going to increase tremendously. And so there's going to be a huge need for organizations like that for support.
Yeah. Well, speaking of nonprofits, we're trying to highlight, one or two that our guests, are looking to support or promote during these trying times. Are there any that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always love your foundation, the Art Nicholas Foundation, obviously because it's close to my heart because I have an autistic son. I think one of the things that your group, it's challenging right now, because I think one of the things that a lot of people don't maybe understand too is that those of us who have kids with special needs right now, and we're sheltered at home, it's hard for them to get a grip on that. It's hard for them to understand that dynamic. They don't understand why they can't go to bowling. They don't understand why they can't go to, their activity, or they can't have their therapist come into the house right now. And so I think that, organizations like our Nicholas Foundation and such are going to be critical, because there's going to be a huge need to kind of get some of these kids reacclimated to being out in the community again. But also is how do we get them some of the things that they're going to need? Because, how many, what is their ABA therapy going to look like after this, and different things. So that's one thing that, and I don't talk much about that, but obviously it weighs heavily in the back of my mind on a daily basis. So, those are some of the things. I think it's some of those forgotten, things that especially when you're not out and about on a regular basis and it's not highlighted a lot. So those are some of those things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you're doing up there in the Murrieta Chamber of Commerce, and appreciate your time. A lot of good insight. Hopefully, people picked up some good tips. And like I said, at the end of this, we'll have links to these different, website resources and also some other information. So, Patrick, thank you.
Thanks for the time, Patrick.
Mark, Adam, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Stay safe and well. We'll look forward to cheering you over a Pepsi sometime soon.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Take care.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye.